welcome back to my cozy corner of the internet. In today's video we're going to make a Astarion themed cosplay, but I'm going to adapt it to a corset slash stays design. You may be wondering who is Astarion, and Astarion is one of my favourite characters. Well, he is my favourite character from my favourite game, Baludrs Gate 3. You might say I might have a little bit of an obsession with him. One of my favourite things about his costume is his jacket. It has a lot of really interesting details that I think would look awesome adapted to a sort of stays or a corset. Maybe more of a fashion corset than a historical pair of stays. You may have saw in my last video that I made my first ever pair of stays using a historical pattern from the Patterns of Fashion 5 book. To help me adapt this design into a cosplay that I can wear, I'm going to use a variety of reference photos and this statue that my partner bought me. Astarion's jacket has two very distinct qualities to it. The first thing you'll probably notice is that it has a lot of gold filigree embroidery. These are mostly prominent on the front, centre and the back centre, and also both shoulders. The second thing that you'll notice is the two-tone fabrics used to divide up different sections of the jacket, which creates a visually striking design that is hard to forget for most people that have played the game, and is very, very memorable in that outfit. And the reason I'm making this cosplay is that I want to have a costume ready for MCM Birmingham. This would have been the first con that I'm going to be wearing cosplay to, and I thought setting this sort of deadline would help me push this project along a bit. The base of this costume, I'm planning on using the same pattern that I used in my previous video for making my stays. I think it's quite a good base to jump off of, considering I've already made the pattern, already tested it, and I fit it to my measurements as well. And for the filigree pieces, I'm going to make them out of gold metallic vinyl, and I'm going to use my Cricut to cut them out. Okay, so what I've done, I've printed out all my pattern pieces. Wait for a minute. I'll do this with one arm. So I've printed out my pattern pieces and I've done them all to scale, and I've also got my line where I'm cutting them in two and having the wine and royal blue fabrics, but I've also overlaid the filigree on top, so I have a sort of guide of where they need to go because I've had to split them up. And then what I've done, it's a bit sticky, I've cut them out on my Cricut out of this gold vinyl, which is really, really pretty, and then I'm just going to lay it over the top, on top of the pieces when I've sewn them together and heat transfer them on. So hopefully that works. These aren't completely to scale. I did cut these out originally, and I don't know what happened, but the Cricut software just blew these up to like 3 times the size, which isn't ideal, and I used a whole roll of vinyl up and realised that they were way too big. So I've sort of did some computer wizardry and managed to get them as close as possible. It's not completely the same. I think this is just slightly bigger, but that's not really a problem. They still fit. So, but yeah, I've got all these cut out. They're all stuck together because this side is really sticky. But yeah, that's all cut out and ready to go. I've cut out all the pieces of the fashion fabric, and then I've also cut out the lining as well. So these are all the lining pieces, and these are the full pieces with the seam allowance. They're not cut up or anything. And then I've put them in this bag because I want to keep them all somewhere safe, and also there's loads of pins everywhere. But yeah, I can't remember which way this goes. This way. But yeah, they're all pinned and ready to be sewn. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the vinyl on top of these after I've pressed them. and then we'll sew it all together. I've still got the 2 inner canvas layers to cut out, but yeah, it looks so good. I'm so happy. It's coming together. This one should hopefully be done a little bit faster than my first corset, well, first pair of stays, because I ain't doing all this by hand. Like, this is really a costume, and I'm hoping to do a lot of it on machine. I'm not going to be sewing so many channels in this. I'm going to have maybe 1 centimetre bones, and I'm going to have each of them, maybe a bone each side of the seam, these seams, and then I'm going to have on the front piece, oh, I don't have a front piece here, but this is a back, centre back, but on the centre front I'll have the thin 5mm boning on each side, so you can obviously close it. But yeah, it's all coming together. So when I was going to start sewing the lining fabrics and the inner fabric together, I realised that this sort of weird section on the left side is off, and I really don't know how this happened, but when I cut out the lining pieces, I also cut out the fashion fabric pieces as well, and the fashion fabric was fine. So I don't really know how this happened, but because it's the 3 panels, all I did was just seam rip those sections out, and I re-drafted them and sewed them together, and it was completely fine. So I didn't have to completely redo the lining, which is great. So what I'm doing here is that I'm basting the inner lining layer and the lining layer together, making sure that I've matched up all the seams, and then once I've basted those 2 layers together, I'm going to sew in my boning channels and then put my bones in. jumped ahead a little bit in these clips and I didn't film making my bias tape and making the bias tape for the little bits of tape that go over the seams, just because I was starting to get a little bit stressed and it started to come a little bit to crunch time, because obviously I wanted this cosplay to be ready for MCM Birmingham. This was the moment after my first and only try on of the whole making process. Because I'd already made this pattern before, I thought, well, I don't need to try it on. And I tried it on and realised that the top and the bottom of the back side of the corset was really floppy. And this is because it didn't have as many bones in as my stays did. Because with my stays, they had bones throughout all the panels. But with this corset, I only put bones in either side of the seams. So they were not only thinner bones than I originally thought I was going to have, which I'm happy with. I do like the thinner bones, but also it gave the corset not as much structure as my previous stays. So this is where I decided to just chop off a huge portion of my corset and sort of follow the lines from, like, follow a leading line from the front to the back. And I used my pattern master to just figure out the best sort of swooping line, and I just cut it off. And it was very stressful, but I am so happy with that decision because it made the corset look so much better. It looks like a proper sort of fashion corset, and I think it really helped the design, and it sort of helped sell that it was sort of like an overpiece, like sort of like a jacket, and it wasn't like a whole big bulky pair of stays. And I'm really happy with how this decision turned out, and I would really recommend doing that, even though I did not plan ahead and I only just guessed where I wanted to cut it. I did match both sides, so at least that's something. And with these final adjustments and sewing on the bias tape all by hand, my Astarion cosplay was finally finished and ready for MCM Birmingham. So I hoped you all enjoyed me making this Astarion cosplay and sort of adapting his character design into sort of a different type of cosplay. I really enjoyed making this. It sort of itched that sort of creative itch I had for adapting costume into other wearable items, which is something that I like to dabble in. And I found it quite an interesting experience trying to sort of change his design and figure out ways to make it fit what I wanted to make. So yeah, well, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe, and yeah, stay cozy, and I'll see you all next time.